I got drafted into the Army and went through various training cycles and transfers until I ended up in the only totally black infantry regiment in World War II. The 366th Infantry Regiment, which was commanded by a blackbird colonel, and everybody in the regiment was black. As was the usual thing in the Army in those days, the government figured that black troops were not fit for combat, and that since most black people lived in the southern United States, that the southern white men were best to be their officers. So our regiment was a political football. We were trained as infantry, but we were not supposed to be fit for combat, and they really did not know what to do with us. But we ended up being sent to southern Italy, and we landed there sometime in April 1943. April 1944. And we were scattered all over southern Italy as air base security, as guarding bomb dumps, and various other kinds of guardian duties. I was a medic, a conscientious objector, and a non-combatant, and since there was no combat, there were no casualties. My duties were very light, and my sojourn in southern Italy was a very pleasant occupation.
I remember lying down under a tree on D-Day when more than 4,000 men were killed on the beaches of Normandy. I was stretched out under a tree looking at the sky and saw an armada of planes which had formed up and headed towards southern Europe. But 2 months after D-Day, the government decided that black troops could go into combat, and the first elements of the 92nd Division were landed in Italy in August of 1944. By December, our regiment was assembled together, and we were attached to the 92nd Division. So I went on the front line on the 1st of December, 1944. We were greeted by our general, who was from Virginia, and he told us that I didn't ask for you, and I didn't want you. You have too many high-ranking officers, and some other things of that manner. So our ammunition was rationed. Each weapon received 16 rounds per day. This led to some rather strange happenings, but on the 26th of December, the day after Christmas in 1944, I was stationed in a small Italian town called Sommacolonna on the tip of a hill in the mountains, and the Germans were just across the little shallow valley on the next hill. On the 26th of December, we were attacked by the enemy. They decided that they wanted to take back Sommacolonna and as much more as they could to see if they could break the army's supply line. In the fighting that day, I was hit by a 120mm mortar shell and had many wounds, and then we were surrounded. One piece of shrapnel hit the crazy bone in my right elbow, so that hand became numb. I had a hole in my shoulder, I had a piece of glass under my eye, and a rather large hole in my hip.